to another episode of Plein de Vie, the podcast where I ask my wonderful buddies about life's wondrous questions, and all the things that pop into my head, which it can be a lot sometimes. It's a bit ridiculous what happens in my head. But anyways, this time on the show, I decided to invite one of my best friends, who is in a different province than me, so only way we can communicate is through phone and Skype. We haven't even used Skype in like a decade and a half, but like, whatever. Anyways, so I have her on the phone, and today I thought would be best to talk about creativity, because that's one of the things that has been on my mind lately. It was in this moment that I realized my mom's voice is very, very audible. Hearable? Anyways, problem solved, hopefully. I don't know where I left off, but
Hello?
Yeah, one moment, child.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about creativity because I've been feeling uncreative. I've been feeling a little down in the dumps, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but like, why? Like, I don't need this right now. But then I decided, why don't I talk about it with someone, and find out what does another person feel about creativity? Is it as important as my mind is making it out to be lately? Because my mind's making it out to be like the utmost important thing in life, and because I'm not doing anything creative, like the world is over, like life has come to an end or something. I don't know if it's just me, so I wanted to ask. So I'm asking my friend Sarah. Oh my gosh! Say hello, Sarah.
Okay, hold up. Sorry. Are we recording right now? Or are you just practicing?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, it's totally okay.
I didn't realize.
No,
huh?
It's totally okay. Keep doing you, girl. Keep doing you.
Because you just started so randomly.
Because I started, but when you went to take a pee, and then I had to tell my mom to talk quietly because she was on the phone, and I could pick it up even though I'm like 3, 5, 6 meters away, the mic can still pick it up. So I had to tell her to be quiet, and then I came back, and then I guess you came back before I came back, and so I was just finishing off what I was saying earlier.
All of that is recorded?
Oh yeah. Not the quiet part. It's okay.
Not the... Huh?
It could be edited. It's totally fine.
Alright.
Hello?
Hello.
Thank you. All right. Do you want to say anything about yourself?
Okay, another thing. You just called me Sarah, but I don't even go by Sarah.
Because I call you Sarah. Oh my gosh.
But then I was literally just about to say Z, but I was gonna say my name is Z, and...
Okay, she likes to be called 10,000 different freaking names. Go ahead.
No, only my first name. Z.
Oh my gosh. Lord help me. Lord help me out. Just say what you need to say. My goodness.
Well, my name's Z. I'm 18. Ripe old age.
Oh god.
I'm currently in university. I'm a kinesiology major.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's kinesiology.
All right, that's good enough.
Yeah.
They don't need to know your whole backstory, I guess, So, I wanted to ask you tonight, actually, because there's a time difference between us that's 3 hours. So, it's 5:11 for me, but 8:11 for this Chiquita. So, I was wondering, what does creativity mean to you?
I just consider creativity to be your ability to, like, use your imagination, I guess, and like just come up with things with your own integrity, you know, like your own creative integrity. So just, yeah, I feel like that's my definition of it, at least.
And how important?
To be able to make something new.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like being the ability to be innovative.
Yeah. Or at least that's part of it.
I see. So then, how important in your life is creativity?
Oh boy, it's pretty important. Yeah, it's really important in my life. A lot of the things that I do are based off of creativity. Like I do writing, I do art. It's just a lot. And especially like just in daily life, I feel like it's so necessary to just like, so everything isn't boring and bland and just a whole ass mess. It's just, you kind of need, it's like the spice of life. You need creativity.
I completely agree with that. So then, if you didn't have creativity in your life, how would you feel?
I'd probably die.
Yeah. I understand
like,
that.
literally. Because I feel like there wouldn't really be anything else to look forward to. Or like, and like, because you were saying how like you're in a slump because you're like, haven't been able to get into like a creative mind lately.
Yeah.
And I totally get that, because I feel the same way when I'm not, like, when I can't, like, if, for example, if I'm writing something and have a writer's block, nothing upsets me more. Like, it's just such a weird, like, your mind just doesn't want to work, and it's useless. Oh, it feels horrendous.
Preach
oh my
about
goodness,
it.
That's my least favorite feeling in the entire world. Like, when your mind just doesn't want to formulate any type of ideas whatsoever.
So then,
yeah, so I'd probably die by my own hand. Like I can't do it. I can't live without creativity.
I'm asking you especially because you are in a, how should I say this? You're going to university for kinesiology, which is like, I don't know, the complete opposite, I would say, of like what a creative person would do, because usually people who are creatives just go directly into like art or something of the sort. But I guess it's different. But your situation is understandable because you don't really have much of a choice.
Yeah, not with my African parents.
But if you did have a choice, what would you want to do?
Oh my goodness, so many things. I'd probably be majoring in English and philosophy. So, because those are like probably my two favorite creative fields.
Wow, it's the complete opposite of me.
What?
Complete opposite of me. I hate English. I hate philosophy.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
I took them both in my first year of uni and I hated it. I dropped philosophy immediately. I went to literally 2 classes and then I'm like, nope, this ain't happening.
You're legitimately missing out. Like, philosophy is the reason that I even understand, like, creative integrity and just, like, being an artist in general. Because literally all I've learned about art, I learned it from philosophy. Like, when I took philosophy, we had a section that, like, a unit that was literally just aestheticism. And we just talked about art and what defines art and, like, connecting artists to their art, or, like, how you can disassociate from your art. And it was just such a beautiful time.
Dang.
You're missing out.
My philosophy class went a little like with a whole bunch of reading, Reading
is wonderful. Of course you're gonna read in philosophy.
No, but like I love reading. I read all the time. But when I go into a class, if all you do is make me read when I'm paying how many thousands of dollars to Cotton Picking Bee here, I could just read at home. I feel like it's a complete waste of money if all I'm coming here to do is read. Because I could just buy a philosophy book, sit at home, and read it myself. I don't need to pay 10 grand per year for tuition.
That just sounds like you had a sucky philosophy program.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because here, philosophy, you do the readings, and then the main part of the class is being able to discuss and debate ideas.
Yeah, we did.
Which is also something I love, because arguing is like one of my favorite things.
Oh, I didn't know that at all. I had no eye cotton picking Dia. But we did do discussions and debates. It's just we did it on topics that I don't care about. So I'm not going to be interested. If we did a debate on more things that had to do with creativity instead of, because what our philosophy class might be different from yours because ours was mainly centered on how to, not really how to argue properly, but what was
critical thinking?
Yeah, critical thinking. And instead of calling, and the teacher emphasized the difference between just arguing between somebody you hate or something of the sort, or arguing with your boyfriend or something, and having a proper English professor certified argument, you know?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's what the main point of our class was, and that's why I'm like, at first, when I saw, because it was like arguments or something in the title, and I was like, ooh, this sounds interesting. I want to learn how to argue properly, only because every time I argue with someone, I get frustrated, and then I just lose all train of thought. I start saying gibberish, and I can't pick and just don't think properly. So I'm like, why don't I take this class so that I can stop crying every time I argue with someone and actually speak like a normal human being, not like some weird alien, because that's what always happens. Anytime I argue, I cry, and I don't know why I'm like that. But I wish I wasn't, but that's why I decided to take that class. And when I got to that class, we were literally just arguing about how to make a sentence, like debating over what a proper sentence sounds and looks like. And it was just like, are you kidding me? This is what we're discussing?
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all.
It was the most boring, and like people were getting heated about how to make a proper sentence. I'm like, is this what I'm paying for? Are you serious? And it was a full class. It was a lot of people in there. So a lot of people at my school were really interested in this philosophy class, but I was just not into it. I couldn't get it. So your class was probably much better than mine.
I think so. Yours sounds pretty horrendous.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I love philosophy.
And how come you love philosophy?
I like the idea of like looking at how other quote unquote artists think, which is like probably why aesthetics was my favorite unit, because it was just like looking into how artists think about their own art, other people's art, what even is art. Like,
see, that's the class I would apply for, not how to have an argument. Honestly. Like, that actually sounds interesting.
And I got
I said, this sounds interesting.
It was very interesting, and I got introduced to like my favorite. Well, actually, yeah, he is my favorite. I got introduced to Oscar Wilde, who is like legitimately probably. Huh?
I've heard of him.
Oh my goodness!
I don't remember.
You need to look into Oscar Wilde.
I don't remember anything about him, but I've heard the name.
He was a novelist and a poet, and also a playwright, and he's basically the most absurd human being you'll ever hear about. Like, he's actually pretty wild, which is funny because his name is Oscar Wilde.
Oh
but
gosh.
It was pretty. In high school, we made that joke all the time, and it literally became the most lame, overused joke in the entire history of like just art kids, and it was pretty bad. But he's a pretty wild dude, so like it matches. And like literally everything about his like school of thought towards art is everything that I agree with, which I really appreciate, because like, for example, he was like super into the idea of how with art, it's not necessarily something that you're kind of like, it's not, to be an artist isn't something that you're taught. Like, it just kind of develops on its own, and like it's not something that's developed necessarily in a classroom setting. Like, you developed your artistry like in your everyday life, wherever you're going, if you go outside, like just being outside and within nature, that's developing your artistry, like that's developing your creativity and all that other stuff. And like, he was super into just disassociation, which I think is really cool, and I really love. Like, you know what disassociation is?
Yeah. How come you love that?
Huh?
How come you love that?
Because I really like the idea of being able to like disconnect from your art. Because there's some things that like,
Oh, I get it. I get it.
yeah, it's just so nice to think that like you don't necessarily need an artist isn't their art, and I really love that. I love the idea of an artist not being their art. Like in some senses, you can like deliberately put your personality and put your like just your own beliefs into your art, but then having the option to not do that at all and just like have your art be considered like a piece on its own rather than having to like connect it to like, oh, this art piece means that the person who made it is like this or like this. Or
But
like,
isn't that what English teachers
also,
do?
Hmm?
English teachers do that, though. They do like
Funny thing, this is hilarious. This is one of the only reason that I dislike English, because that's literally all we do is analyze like, oh my goodness, artists for their work, and I dislike it so much. That's the only thing that has ever made me dislike English, especially in high school, because I had a teacher who was so adamant on like looking super deep into things that were like literally surface information. Like it doesn't need to be looked into. But then he was like, he'd always make the most absurd conclusions when he was saying, and he'd like, especially with Shakespeare, he like derived the most absurd conclusions from like certain Shakespearean works. Which, some of them, it's obvious. It's like, yeah, I see that, I get it, that makes sense. But then other things, it's like, no, that's like not even close to anything that could be like that could make sense or like even happen. Like that doesn't seem logical anymore. Like you're just pulling. I was about to say, never mind. You're just coming up with stuff, like out of nowhere, and I dislike it so much. Especially because sometimes you don't even need to overanalyze things like that. You just need to appreciate them for what they are. You know, and that's why I love Oscar Wilde so much. Because literally, another thing is that he was super for was just the idea that like art is useless, and not in the sense that like it doesn't have a place. Like he was really all for art being there and existing, but his thing was that art doesn't need to have a meaning. Like it can just exist on its own, and that's it. And I was one of my favorite novels, The Picture of Dorian Gray. The preface was literally him talking crap about like how people overanalyze things too much and they need to stop it for like because he was talking about his own book because he published it. He got like so much heat for it because people were overanalyzing it and they were like saying how like immoral, blah 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 blah, and then he republished it with a preface basically calling all those people idiots and saying how you need to stop looking so deep into things that don't need to be analyzed. And he just, the whole thing was just him saying art's useless, shut up, just read the book and enjoy it. And I was like, this is beautiful.
What's that book called?
The Picture of Dorian Gray.
The Picture of... Oh!